Last time we were discussing about strategies of coming into real estate, and we made mention that the first thing is for you to have a plan and you should decide on what you want to do before starting on. And we started talking about the different metrics in taking this decision. So today we are going to expand on price to rent ratio. What is it and what do we use it for? When you are deciding on should I buy or should I rent, how do you take this decision? Here is where price to rent ratio comes in. Now, price to rent ratio is a factor you use in making this decision. It's not everything that is required, but this gives you an idea as to the performance of properties across the area you have chosen. From what we discussed, giving our case study example for a family who is currently expanding and looking to move into a bigger house, and they want to get a new property, how will they know should they buy or should they rent? We use the price to rent ratio, as I've said. In location A, 2-bedroom apartment is selling for, say, 1.2 million dirham. And rental in location A for a 2-bedroom apartment is coming about 120,000 dirham per year. What is the price to rent ratio? Price to rent ratio will be the selling price divided by the prevailing rental price, which is in this case 1.2 million divided by 120,000 dirham, which gives us a price to rent ratio of 10. So now let's take location B. In location B, property sales price for a 2-bedroom is coming about 1.5 million dirham, and the rental price in that location is about 80,000 dirham per year. What will be the price to rent ratio in that location? That will be 1.5 million divided by 80,000 dirham. That gives you 18.75 price to rent ratio. Now, comparing location B and location A, what decision can come up in terms of where should you buy or where should you rent? Now, location A, as we discussed, has a price to rent ratio of 10. Location B has a price to rent ratio of 18.75. What does this mean? The lower your price to rent ratio means it's more considerable for you to buy than to rent. So in that case, location A would mean that it is cheaper or more considerable for you to buy a property in location A than renting, because it's cheaper to buy, compared to location B, where you have high buying costs and low rental costs. In that case, it is cheaper to rent than to buy. So this is how you use the price to rent ratio to decide whether should you buy or should you rent. See you next video.